Greetings, everybody. I am the Starving Martian, and it being the final few days of October, I figured it was finally time to delve into Mars Attacks: The Holidays. This was an IDW comic that presents four stories. It's a double-length comic with four 12-page stories in it, each one covering a different holiday. There were five alternate covers to choose from. Obviously, mine is the Thanksgiving cover, which was my favorite of the bunch. Um, but today we're not going to be talking Thanksgiving, obviously, but rather the Mars Attacks Halloween story. And if you're curious what that cover looked like, here is a trading card reproducing the Mars Attacks cover for the Halloween version. If you're wondering exactly what this has to do with Halloween, if you could picture this the size of an average comic book cover, you're supposed to be able to cut it out and punch holes right over here and on the other side and actually wear that as a mask. If you don't mind a giant hole in the front of your Mars Attacks comic. So there you have that. So the holidays in this book do go chronologically. We start with Halloween. We'll work our way up to Christmas. Um, so let's dive right into it. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that our Halloween story here, entitled All Hallows Steve, features a much more cartoony art style than we are used to. The story and art are done by the same guy, a man by the name of Fred Hembeck. And yeah, it's very much like a Mad magazine sort of feel to it. Um, and you kind of know what you're getting into. The other side here starts with a Twilight Zone type message for you. But so yeah, we delve into the All Hallows Steve, which is our Mars Attacks Halloween story, and it's a flashback story. Takes place a couple decades before the Martians officially attack during one of their preliminary information gathering missions. So this here is a picture of the attack itself. Remember, it says back when Mars attacked. Yeah, that sure was no day at the beach, even for those folks actually at the beach. Wah wah wah. So there you have it. That's the tone that we're setting for this story. And so we flash back several decades to presumably the 60s, or possibly the 50s. Yeah, so we're introduced to Steve. He's the Santa Claus looking guy up there. He's a teenager on his way to a big Halloween party. He wants to get there as quick as he can because his girl's there dressed as Cleopatra, and he's afraid that the host of the party is going to be putting the moves on his lady. But his parents tell him he has to take his little brother, who I initially thought was dressed like the Green Goblin, out trick-or-treating first. His brother claims he's dressed as a man from Mars. Ironically enough, poor Steve doesn't have a costume of his own and had to borrow his father's Santa Claus costume, which he's not very happy about because Santa's not cool, especially because it comes with a pillow stuffed inside of it, which makes him look fat. He does not like the pillow. He also doesn't like when his mom hits on his dad. It's just gross. So they go out to do a little bit of neighborhood trick-or-treating. The idea being, let's get this over with, drop my kid brother back off home, and get to the party. But as they're doing that, the Martians are landing. See, unlike some other stories following a similar thread, like there's a movie called Spaced Invaders from I think the late 80s or early 90s. These Martians know full well that it's Halloween. And they've picked this day specifically because they figure it's the best day to walk around and blend in. And so you get a look at Martians as drawn in this art style and also their language, which is impossible to read and or understand. And they have an instinctive hatred of bats, apparently. It actually kind of reminds me of the Mars Attacks movie, where where they released the dove and they turned around and fried it. So maybe Martians just don't like flying animals. Maybe animals don't fly on Mars, and maybe that it offends them. I don't know. Anywho, so we meet back up with Steve and his little bro, and they're walking around doing their thing when they quite literally bump into the Martians and decide that it's the coolest costumes they've ever seen, and they invite them to come along with them. Steve says that he doesn't recognize them from school, which is pretty silly because, in his mind they're wearing Martian masks, so I don't know how he would recognize them, but whatevs. But he quickly grows frustrated with them because they won't break character. Just my luck, method actors. I'm stuck with a punk kid and a trio of Martian Marlon Brandos. So the Martians' lasers are so powerful they can cut right through Steve's word bubbles. That's pretty impressive. So they go along, do their trick-or-treating shtick. Martians test out their lasers. Oh, okay, so this guy here makes some stupid candy jokes. Oh yes, here it is. How about a Mars bar for each of you? Yeah, because they're Martians. Mars bar. And so when he gets fried, his wife comes out and says, "Oh, Henry!" Yeah, it's another candy joke, you see. The humor in this story is entirely pun-based. If you don't like puns, this is not going to be your favorite story in this collection. In fact, the narrator carries on the bad candy puns. Well, what did you expect? Martians don't have mounds of restraint, Haha, please, no Snickers. So, there you have it. So we're getting closer to the end of the night. The kid is dropped off at home. Steve's able to take his dad's pick-em-up truck, tool on down to the party, not realizing that the Martians have hitched a ride, and that his little brother's following along. I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe he just wants to see what a teenage Halloween party's like, but either way, they get to this rather large estate to be greeted by the host, who is dressed as Napoleon. And here be the party. And we see people dressed in an array of costumes. Here's Elvis. Here's Uncle Sam. We got a Bride of Frankenstein and a Frankenstein of Frankenstein. Yeah, got somebody dressed as Eve up here. Technically, she should be wearing an entire apron made of fig leaves, but whatever. And there's Steve's girlfriend, dressed as Cleopatra. And suddenly everyone is all aghast by these newcomers and their hip, awesome Martian costumes. Crazy group of elves you got there, Santa, says one partygoer. So the Martians mingle. I'm not sure what exactly they're trying to find out, how this is going to help the eventual invasion, but whatever. We meet this frustrated French chef who apparently has been hired from overseas to come and make candy apples, which he's not happy about. Yeah. Why I even bother bringing along my culinary tools, I do not know. And so the aliens invade his kitchen and zap him for reasons unknown. Other than that, they're Martians, and that's what they do. Yeah. Which doesn't seem like you would think of this as just a reconnaissance mission. You shouldn't be, annihilating people just for making candy apples. But, again, whatever. But he's witnessed by Steve's brother, who realizes that those guys are real Martians. And so now it's time to turn the table on the Martians. So kid comes running in announcing that they're real, live, real Martians who are real. Napoleon obviously doesn't believe them. And so he starts yanking on the Martians' death ray and ends up frying himself. And I'm not even going to blame the Martian for that. That's just all on you, friend. But it does cause the Martian's laser beam to go out of control, zapping a chandelier and crushing his two friends. And that's the last we see of them, so apparently that chandelier does kill those two Martians. And then the one remaining Martian is taken out by our friend disguised as Elvis. This will make sure he's all shook up. Alright, you guys want more Elvis jokes? Too bad, because they're coming. You did be cruel! Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, I didn't write this, guys. I plead innocent. I'm just, I don't make the news, I just report it. So if you don't like the bad Elvis jokes, ain't my fault. So everyone's all talking about how unbelievable it is that there's real Martians, real death rays, and everything else. But the Martian isn't quite dead. Although he should be gasping like in Earth's poisonous atmosphere, but whatever. He's starting to slowly regain his senses. But Steve's little brother thinks quick, grabs the pillow out of Steve's costume, and proceeds to suffocate our Martian friend. And after suffocating his first Martian, he decides this is no longer going to be called Halloween, but Smothers Day. Get it? Smothers Day? Because he smothered the... Because with a name like Smothers, it has to be good. I don't know. I want to like this story. I like when Mars Attacks is funny. I like the humor that's inherent to the series. And, and I can take a more, left field kind of approach to any story every now and then. The art style doesn't bother me, but I don't know. A lot of the humor in this particular story seems forced, and don't really connect to any of the characters. The Martians act oddly, but the next story, which we'll take a look at next month, features, as you see, a much more realistic art style, but we'll get to that when we get to that. In the meantime, though, this has been the Starving Martian. So let me know, guys, down in the comments below what you thought of All Hallows Steve, Mars Attacks, Halloween, and what you would have done different with the story. But until then, this has been the Starving Martian, and we'll catch up with you next time. As always, keep your eyes on the skies, and we'll see you later.